So hi, I'm Amma. I'm a youth worker. I've been in the youth work field for almost 10 years now. I currently work in Lambeth, working with an organisation called LDN Apprenticeships. It's an apprenticeship provider, but specifically I recently joined the team to help them with setting up a youth hub, which is all about getting young people closer to employment and helping them kind of explore the different opportunities they have available and prepare them for the world of work. Before that, I was working in Southwark for about 8 years with a great organisation called Salmon Youth Centre. A lot of the stuff I do is around youth work, working with young people. I'm also a governor for a primary school and an autistic specialist for Education College, and a trustee for a great charity called Beam, which works with helping young people and adults in homelessness situations. Their biggest worries, let's start with that. Let's go with the biggest ones. I think their future mainly, and that's not just aspirations wise in terms of what they'll get into to do with work, but also what the future of the place they're living in is like. So their community, the country, all of that kind of stuff, as well as their mental health. I think a lot of pressures that people don't realize young people are under over the years has really started to take a toll. And so, yeah, one of their worries is just whether or not they will be healthy as they get older, whether or not the pressures they have right now are still going to be there as they get older. A lot of those worries are around mental health and their aspirations and work. I think starting with work anyway, I think there are skills that definitely young people need. People call them soft skills, which I kind of have a little pet peeve about. I prefer to call them critical skills. And I think some people call them transferable skills, and they're skills that you need, that you can use and step into any opportunity. Things like problem solving, creative thinking, teamwork, all of those kind of things I think are really critical in the world of work and just engaging in society as well. And then obviously you've got your hard skills, which would be industry specific. If you're stepping into media, it might be Photoshop. If you're stepping into admin, it might be using Microsoft Office or things like Salesforce. So I think critical skills, ones that are transferable, are really needed for anybody. But yeah, young people specifically stepping into the world of work. I think there's a lot that organizations can do. I won't ramble too much, but I think just offering opportunities is a big one. I think it's definitely something that organizations may be scared of because they're young people, they're not full ready, work ready employees. But actually there are ways that organizations can offer the skills and knowledge that they have that isn't quite a toll and isn't so much of a thing to organize logistically and things like that. So I think open to giving advice. One thing I'm moving to do is I've got an organization that I'm working on is literally connecting young people with professionals in industries, and those professionals just being available for a young person to have a chat with them and ask questions about their industry, ask questions about their role, how they got into it and how they're finding it. And I think even that opportunity and having that connection of speaking with somebody that may be in an industry you're interested in. I think internally as well, I think encouraging CPD. So again, if you're a big organization, have a budget for CPD for your employees to be able to continually develop themselves, do short courses online. If you're a small organization, it could just be finding out what's free, what's on YouTube. LinkedIn Learning is fantastic. What can your employees tap into? But I think the big one is offering opportunities. I think simply you must not really find it important if you're talking about those things and you're saying that you want your team to be diverse, your company supports diversity, but it doesn't really show, then you must not really care about it. Diversity and inclusivity specifically is something that's quite, I don't want to say on trend, but it's something that's becoming more, people are becoming more and more aware of it and how important it is. And I've seen a lot of organizations and companies kind of tap into campaigns and use hashtags and do things like, oh yes, we are inclusive, we're an inclusive workspace and things like that. But actually they're not taking the steps to make sure it's implemented in their organization. A lot of the time it's just a secondary thing. But actually having somebody like a DEI specialist who their sole job is making sure that your organization is as inclusive as possible. Especially as well to do with neurodiversity. I think that's something that gets left out of the conversation when we talk about diversity and inclusion. People usually speak about age, ethnicity, things like that. But actually, having a company that's accessible for people with neurodiverse needs as well is really important. And yeah, that's another thing to talk about. But I think overall, yeah, a company that you can see on their website or see in terms of the audience they connect with, it doesn't really reflect their values. I'm a bit iffy about those kind of companies, yeah. I think, firstly, know that it's going to be hard. I'm pretty sure they already do know it's going to be hard, but manage your expectations. I think as much as I'm speaking for organizations and companies to give loads of opportunities, we also need to recognize that it's been hard for those companies and organizations as well. But as I said before, there are different ways to step into the world of work. If a company can give work experience, if a young person or a young adult can get work experience, really try and push for that, even if it's unpaid. Try and connect with as many organizations as possible. Be confident and reach out. Ask for support with that as well. There are so many people, mentoring opportunities that you can tap into and say, look, I'm trying to find a job. I may not have any work experience or anything like that. Can you support me with this? Another thing, Google is your best friend. I use Google a lot, even when I'm just working with a young person. They might ask me a question, I have no idea how to answer it or where to start in terms of maybe finding out about the industry they're interested in. So for young people, I'd say try and connect with as many organizations as possible. And in terms of how to connect with them, ask for advice. If you have LinkedIn, make connections, send a message to somebody in an industry you might be interested in, drop a message to them and just say, hey, like, I just want to ask you a couple of questions. This is a bit random, but I'd really like your advice on this. I think it's hard. It's not a very simple, do this and this will work, or do that and that will work. I think there are loads of different things you need to tap into and loads of different things you need to try. And that's why I say as well, it's not just a young person's thing to do. Organizations also need to get on board with understanding that people need opportunities right now and people need help. And as much as organizations can do that as possible, the better it will be for young people trying to get into the world of work.